At 50 years old, Achol had already made peace with one thing: love was not for her, not because she didn't believe in it, but because life had never given her the chance to keep it. She was a mother before she was ever a woman, a fighter before she was ever loved. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every tear she never showed was all for one person, her son. And when he finally made it in life, when he finally brought her to a new country, a new beginning, Achol thought her story was already written. Quiet life. No expectations. No love. Just peace. But what she didn't know was that every evening, on the same quiet road, someone had been watching her, not to hurt her, but waiting for the right moment to love her. Before we start, I want to ask you something. Do you believe love has an age limit? If your answer is no, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from so we can greet you in our next video. And don't forget to subscribe, because this channel is all about real stories, real emotions, and real love. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The wind in South Korea carried a chill Achol was still not used to, even after 10 months. Every evening, just as the sun dipped behind the tall buildings and painted the sky in soft orange and purple, Achol would tie her scarf tightly around her head, slip into her worn but clean sneakers, and step out for her walk. Walking had become her escape. Back in South Sudan, life had never allowed her such quiet moments. There had always been something: work, worry, hunger, responsibility. Most of all, raising her son alone. Her son Let is her greatest pride, her only soft place. At 50, Achol had already lived what felt like 3 lifetimes. Love, to her, was something that belonged to the past, or perhaps something she had never truly known at all. "Love is not for me," she would whisper sometimes, almost like a prayer, and she believed it. Let was 30 now, tall, intelligent, and determined. He had earned a scholarship to study engineering in South Korea, and through sheer brilliance and discipline, he had secured a job at one of the best engineering companies in the country. He was everything Achol had worked for, everything she had sacrificed for, and when he finally had stability, he made a decision that kept him awake for nights. He brought her to live with him. At first, Achol resisted. "I will disturb your life," she said. "You are my life," Let replied. She came, but adjusting wasn't easy. The language was strange. The food was confusing. The buildings were too tall, the roads too fast, and people moved like they had somewhere urgent to be, even when they didn't. But Achol adapted, because that's what she had always done. Every evening she walked. Same route, same pace, same quiet determination. She walked past a small park, across a narrow bridge, then down a long street lined with trees that changed colors with the seasons, and for 10 months, she was not alone. Lee had first seen her on a cold evening. She stood out immediately. Not just because she was different, but because she walked like someone who carried both strength and sadness in equal measure. He noticed her routine, same time, same path, every day. At first, it was curiosity, then admiration, then something deeper. But Lee was 60 years old. He had lived long enough to understand that approaching a stranger, especially one who looked like she had built walls around her heart, was not something to do lightly. So he watched, not in a frightening way, in a careful way, a respectful distance, a quiet presence for 10 months. It happened on a windy evening. Achol had just crossed the bridge when she felt it again, that strange feeling, like someone was behind her, watching. Her heart began to race. She tightened her grip on her scarf. Achol, you are 50, not 15, she muttered to herself. Why are you scared? But fear doesn't listen to logic. She turned suddenly, and there he was, Lee, standing awkwardly, holding a small paper bag. They both froze for a full 5 seconds, which, in awkward situations, feels like 5 years. Ah, Lee bowed slightly, startled. Achol stepped back. Why you follow me? She asked, her voice sharp, her accent strong. Lee panicked. No, no follow, he said quickly, waving his hands. I walk. I always walk. You also walk. Same walk. Achol narrowed her eyes. 10 months? She asked. Lee blinked. Yes. Silence. Then Achol gasped. You were watching me for 10 months. A passing couple turned to look. Leah nearly dropped the bag. No bad, no bad, he said quickly. Good watching. Respect watching. Achol folded her arms. There is no such thing as good watching. Lee paused. In Korea? Maybe small good watching? Achol stared at him. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. Just a little, and Lee noticed. Her laugh was rare, but beautiful. After that day, Lee started greeting her. From a distance. A bow, a small wave. Sometimes, he would walk a few steps behind her, not too close. Achol noticed. Of course she noticed, and it confused her. Why was this man gentle? Why was he patient? Why did he look at her like she was something worth noticing? At home, she avoided Let's questions. Your walks are longer these days, he said one evening. Exercise, she replied quickly. Or something else? Achol almost dropped her cup. Something else like what? She snapped. Let smiled. Like maybe a Korean boyfriend? Achol choked. Ah, Let. I am your mother. I know, he said calmly. You're also a woman. She went silent. That sentence stayed with her. One evening Lee gathered courage. He stepped closer than usual. Achol, he said softly. She turned. I like you. Achol blinked, then blinked again, then looked around as if he might be talking to someone else. Me? She asked. Yes, she laughed, a loud, disbelieving laugh. I am 50 and I am 60, he replied calmly. That is worse. He smiled. No, that is perfect. She shook her head, backing away slightly. No, 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 this is not for me. Love is finished. Lee's expression softened. Who told you that? She hesitated. Life. What Achol didn't know was that Let already knew about Lee. Lee had approached him first, man to man, with respect. I want to know your mother, he had said. Let had studied him carefully. Are your intentions good? Lee had bowed deeply. My intentions are to give her peace. That was enough. That night, Let sat with his mother. Why are you afraid? He asked gently. I am not afraid, she replied. You are, he said. You are afraid to be happy. She went quiet. Do you think you don't deserve love? He continued. Achol looked down. For the first time, she didn't have an answer. The next evening, Achol went for her walk again. Lee was there, as always, but this time she didn't avoid him. She walked beside him, silently, for a while. Then she spoke. I don't know how to do this. Lee smiled softly. Me too. She looked at him, and for the first time, she wasn't afraid. A love that came late, but right on time. It wasn't dramatic. There were no grand gestures, just small things. Walking together, sharing snacks, laughing over language mistakes. Lee once tried to say you are beautiful, but accidentally said you are expensive. Achol didn't let him forget it. Slowly, gently, Achol allowed herself to feel again. Not because she needed love, but because she finally realized she deserved it. At 50, Achol had told herself love was not for her, but at 50, love quietly found her anyway. And this time, she didn't run. After that walk, things changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but in small, noticeable ways. Achol began to expect Lee, and that alone scared her. Every evening, she would pretend she was only going out for exercise, but now she took extra time choosing her scarf. Why are you changing 3 times? Let asked one day, leaning on the doorframe with a smirk. I am not changing, Achol snapped. You wore blue, then red, now black. This is temperature adjustment. Let burst out laughing. Korean weather affects color choice now? Achol picked up her sandal and almost threw it. Get out. Lee, on the other hand, treated every meeting like an important event. He Googled things. He practiced English. He even tried learning a few words from Achol's language. One evening, he greeted her proudly. Achol, you are Nair Bear? She froze, then burst out laughing so hard she had to hold her stomach. What did you just say? Lee panicked. Good word. I learn. You just called me a stubborn goat, she said between laughter. Lee's face turned red. Oh no. Translator is bad person. That night, Achol went home smiling, and she didn't even try to hide it. But no matter how much she laughed, fear lingered. Late at night, when everything was quiet, her thoughts returned. What if this is a mistake? What will people say? What if I lose myself again? She had built her life on survival. Love had never been part of her plan. Let noticed. Of course he did. One night, Let sat beside her on the couch. Do you trust me? He asked. Achol looked at him. With my life. Then trust my judgment too, he said softly. He's a good man. She sighed. I am not scared of him. I know, Let replied. You are scared of feeling something again. That hit her hard. One evening it rained heavily. The kind of rain that makes the world feel slower. Achol almost didn't go for her walk, but something pulled her when she reached their usual path. Lee was there, standing under a small umbrella, waiting, soaked at the edges. You will get sick, she said immediately. Lee smiled. You came. She hesitated. I almost didn't, but you did. Silence. rain falling around them. Then Lee gently moved the umbrella over both of them. Their shoulders touched. Achol stiffened at first, then slowly relaxed. "Why me?" she asked suddenly. Lee didn't hesitate. "Because you are strong," she shook her head. "Many women are strong." "Yes," he said, "but not many are strong and still kind." She looked at him. Something inside her shifted. The next day, Achol didn't go for her walk, or the next. Lee waited 3 days, 4 days, 5. On the 6th day, he didn't come. At home, Achol felt restless, irritated, angry, confused. "Why are you pacing like a security guard?" Let asked. "I am not pacing. You are wearing shoes inside the house." She looked down. "I forgot." Let smiled knowingly. "You miss him?" "I do not." "Okay," he said calmly. "Then sit." She sat. Stood up again after 2 seconds. Let laughed. "Go." The realization. That evening, Achol ran. Actually, ran. For the first time in years. When she reached their usual spot, Lee wasn't there. Her heart sank. "Oh, so this is how it feels," she whispered. She turned to leave. "Achol," she froze, turned. Lee was there, holding 2 cups of something warm. "I thought you disappeared," he said softly. She walked toward him slowly. "I thought you gave up." He shook his head. "I waited. Then I thought, maybe I scared you." She looked at him. "No," she said quietly. "I scared myself." They sat on a bench, sharing warm drinks, hands occasionally brushing, neither pulling away. "I don't know how long I have," Lee said gently, "but I know I don't want to spend it alone anymore." Achol swallowed. "I don't know how to love," she admitted. Lee smiled. "Good." She frowned. "Why good?" "Because then we learn together." A few days later, Lee invited Let for dinner. Man to man, again. "I want to ask for permission," Lee said. Les smiled. "You don't need permission to love her. I need your support," Lee replied. "You already have it," Led said. "But she needs to believe it too." That night, Let did something unexpected. He brought them together. "Both of you," he said, sitting them down. "Stop behaving like teenagers." Achol gasped. "Me?" "Yes, you." Let laughed. "You are both shy, awkward, and pretending this is not happening." Lee nodded slowly. "He is correct." Achol covered her face. "This is embarrassing." Let stood up. "I didn't bring you to Korea just to survive," he said. "I brought you here to live." Silence filled the room. Then he added softly, "You gave me everything. Let someone give you something too." That night, Achol didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. Instead, she looked at Lee and said, "Slowly." Lee smiled. "Slowly is my favorite speed." Weeks turned into months. Walks turned into conversations. Conversations turned into connection. And connection turned into something Achol never expected to feel again. Peace, joy, love. At 50, Achol had told herself love was not for her, but life. had a different plan, because sometimes love doesn't come when you're ready. It comes when you've almost given up on it. And maybe that's when you need it the most. Achol spent most of her life believing love was something she had missed, something meant for other people, not for her. But life has a way of rewriting stories we think are already finished. Because love didn't come to her when she was young and dreaming. It came when she was tired, when she had given everything, when she had nothing left to expect. And maybe that's what made it real. Not perfect, not rushed, but patient, gentle, and true. At 50, Achol didn't just find love. She found herself again, and this time, she didn't let fear win.